Great. So this week's theme is going to be one of liberation. And in the Standing Strong course, the theme is desire, mind, imagination, will, all these faculties that as we intensify our focus upon our path, inevitably we come into a new relationship with our different faculties. Hopefully, each one of us here is moving towards a relationship that is really imbued with compassion and self-love. But it can be very easy to demonize any part of our being that seems to stand in the way of presence or stand in the way of what we might call liberation. And all of that is really a process for us. This is not a journey of the mind. It's a journey of the soul. And the mind is caught up in that journey. This is not a journey of the heart, but it's the journey of the soul. And the heart is integral to that process. So, coming from that framework, this week for our meditations, we'll be really opening up liberation in a variety of ways, because it's just a concept. It points to something, it connotes something. And I wanted, before we start the meditation, to just take a look. When I was looking at the etymology of liberation, it's very much what you would think it would be. It's a freedom from, it's a release from, it's a setting or a becoming free. And it obviously oftentimes has to do with a physical state, like moving from being a slave to being free, moving from being in bondage or imprisonment and then being free. But liberation also comes from the word liberal, coming from the mid-14th century, which liberal was used as a word to indicate generosity, nobly free, selfless, magnanimous, admirable, unrestrained. It gives a little bit different of a view there, right? And there are also traces with liberation that trace back to the first part of the word, pointing to the people, that to be of the people has this quality of freedom. So after that, I took a look at the word freedom. I particularly like the word freedom. We all have different ways that we might talk about our spirituality, and one of the unchanging qualities that I hope to embody one day is freedom, true freedom. And freedom, coming from the Old English, points to a certain state of free will or power of self-determination, exemption from things that bind, right? That you'd have to be liberated from. But then I looked a little closer, and the root with freedom comes from pri, which is a Proto-Indian European root, and it means to love. It shows that the word freedom is not simply tied to love, but actually is an aspect of love. And the belief is it probably comes from Sanskrit priya, which means dear or beloved or own, like my own, to have a certain possession of. It also points to words like friend and helping. So this morning's meditation is coming into liberation from there. with the understanding of liberation being tied to freedom and to love. While liberation and freedom can oftentimes orient us in one direction, freedom from oppression, liberation from limited thinking. When we add in that love, it changes the whole orientation for us, or it gives us the opportunity to, and lets us step into more deeply the bit of the dance between from and into, freedom into fullness of being, liberation for the sake of personal self-realization or union with God. So it's with that then that this morning's meditation is going to be one that focuses upon self-love. Love your neighbor as yourself. How can we love anything that is outside ourselves more than the measure we give to ourselves? And yet somehow in practice, oftentimes we do. I know I do. I am so much more likely to put somebody else or a cause or a need in the general community before checking in with self, because of the beauty of loving has a certain kenosis and outpouring to it. And that's a very beautiful quality of being a human being. So we're not talking about not having that or setting up boundaries. We're talking about moving into the freedom of self-love to the degree that self-love reflects directly the love that brought us into being. Whether you see that as a personal force, whether you see that as simply an energetic force, there is an action that happened that brought you into being. And to be brought into being is a loving act by its very nature. So I'm drawing upon that understanding. And when we are truly free in that state, then all of our kenosis, all of our loving has the luminescent quality of self-love being a part of it. And we find ourselves not depleted, not giving beyond what we are capable of, but rather the giving is the overflow of that, and things fall into what I would like to call a divine order. There's less confusion of, do I do this or don't I do this? So it's very practical, but it's very foundational to our personal growth. So this morning's meditation with self-love, it's going to draw upon subtle energy and a bit of your sensing and imagination. Now, if these are faculties within you that are not particularly strong, what I'd like to invite you to do is to allow yourself to simply receive the balm of the group experience. So not everybody has a powerful ability to use imagination. And when we talk about meditation, is that a meditation practice or not? I think imagination is a very powerful tool in opening up the dissolution of the individual into the universal self at the center of your being. So we're going to draw upon, again, subtle energy and imagination. And this will be a lovely, lovely way to start this week. Our exploration of liberation will be a little bit different each day. So this is not a building upon this week. These are very freestanding. So I invite you to close your eyes. And bring the left palm or fingertips to the center of your chest, to the place of the heart chakra. Breathe into the touch of your hand upon the center of your chest. And as you breathe into the center of your chest, simply notice what your inner state is right now, what your mood is. And if you're able, hold a loving presence for your inner state in this moment. You don't need to be different. And a human being's electromagnetic field moves in definable patterns. This morning, we're opening up to a part of ourselves we might call the torsion field. And so sense or imagine that there is energy moving from the center of the heart. You can bring your hand to rest now if it's uncomfortable. Upwards through the spinal column, through the crown, and then like a spout moves outward in every direction, but spouting like water that would move upward and then turn downward, descending, forming a large field that is you. And that energy moving downward goes to a number of inches below the soles of the feet, and then comes together like a well gathering its resources. And as it comes together, moves through the feet, upward through the body. Sense or imagine this movement of energy moving up the spine and the core, spouting through the head in every direction, circling back down to the soles of the feet, moving backwards up. Stay with this sensing and observation. And if it helps, if this is difficult to sense, let the breath guide you, moving up through the crown, spouting through the crown, circling back around to the soles of the feet, gathering force and entering the soles of the feet, moving up through the body again, recycling, refreshing, rejuvenating. And as this process is happening, and you are now aware of it, bring to mind the first color that comes to you. Let that color be the energy pattern that moves upward from the heart through the crown, spouting, circling back to the soles of the feet. That this very energy pattern of you is being washed and refreshed in that color that came to your mind. Allow yourself to be touched, to be loved by this cleansing color, breath, and energy movement. Now bring to mind a second color, the first color that comes to your mind, and let the energy shift into that color. Enjoy the difference as the one color shifts to the other. Simply vibration and frequency. You are a rainbow of color under a microscope. And the second color, the vibration of it, fills your whole being, moving upward through the crown, spouting in every direction, circling back down, coming to the soles of the feet and moving upward again, through the heart, through the mind, up through the crown, spouting and circling back down, gathering momentum and moving through the soles of the feet, moving upward through every cell of the body and beyond, through the heart, through the mind, up through the crown of the head, and circling back. Rest into this energy cleansing. And once you reach again the heart, let a third color come to your mind. The first inclination. And let this energy pattern shift into that color. And with the breath, it rises up through the mind, through the brain, to the crown, spouting and circling back down. Notice that your energy is getting wider in every direction through this concentration. And as you continue to focus upon this energy movement, on the in-breath, on the inhale, silently say the word self. And on the exhale, love. Self, love, self, love, self, love. And while continuing with the mantra self-love, let any or all mix of colors be that torsion field pattern, moving upward out the crown, spouting, circling back, gathering momentum, coming through the soles of the feet, moving upward through the body. Any or all color. The core is being strengthened. The body is being healed. Your alignment with Source is quickening. You are slowly stabilizing in the fullness of presence. And now we begin to end this morning practice. Bring your inward gaze back quite simply to the heart, releasing the mantra. While the torsion field pattern continues, you can move your attention away from it if you wish, back solely to the heart. Such a symbol of tenderness, vulnerability, a mirror into the soul. Perhaps the greatest challenge that you as a warrior, a spiritual warrior, has is the ability to love yourself as you are loved. I quote from the Song of Songs, the Hebrew text. O my dove, in the clefts of the rock, in the secret recesses of the cliff, let me see you. Let me hear your voice. For your voice is sweet and you are lovely. I invite you to bring your palms together in front of your heart and open your eyes with Namaste. Namaste. And a practice that I invite you to for today is to let yourself have a special focus on letting your words to yourself, letting the acknowledgement of your feelings, letting your voice be harnessed completely into self-love. Remembering that the greatest challenge of a spiritual warrior is to love self the way self is loved. Have a great day, everyone. Great to be with you in person.